All right, now we're rolling. Damage Plan MMA podcast, episode number 22. I am Jason Laporte. I got my co-host Zach Partridge in the house. What's up, Zach?
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
We got a very special guest on today.
Yes, we do. My man out from New York, Chris Macchi. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, I guess as good as you can be in the circumstance.
Yes, sir.
Right. We've had a lot of chats about that, but Chris is Chris. You're the vice president of Titan Triton out there, the promotion out there in New York, right?
Yes, Triton Fights. Vice president Matchmaker.
Awesome.
Right on.
Tell us a little bit about that. I know we don't have any active fights going on right now, but how'd you get started in the promoting biz?
So, 2012, I believe, or 13, 2012, I was ramping up for my first amateur MMA fight. Been a gym guy since I was about 17 years old, just bouncing around, really trying to find the right camps. And, I finally found a camp with Lion Sport MMA, formerly Lion Sport MMA. They actually closed, and we transitioned the whole fight team to American Top Team, College Point. And, I was ramping up to fight. Come fight day, I had a war in there, ended up snapping my ACL, MCL, and meniscus, kind of a freak accident. So kind of put me out of commission, laying at home, not being able to walk, borderline depressed. I was like, I got to figure this thing out. And I fought for a great promotion at the time. Triton Fights used to be called KTFO, Platinum Gloves. And, I spoke to the president of that, Nick Canobio, which is my now partner, and started promoting and started helping to build a brand. And, ever since, we've sold out our last 7 shows, and, we're in great theaters. The Paramount in Huntington, number 3 concert venue in the world. The space at Westbury, very beautiful venue as well, 1,000-seat arenas. And, we were growing, and then coronavirus. But, we're in no means victims. So we had a lot of things that, on the horizon.
Well, Chris, I wanted to have you on the show, 2 reasons. One, because we had the pleasure of coming out and supporting one of our guys and cornering one of our guys, and came out, and he was the main event in your last show back in February, Tanner Hines.
Tanner, great guy.
And me and Tanner and Brody Fernelius, we were all out there, and we were so impressed with the show that you guys put on. You guys put on a heck of a show. We've had a couple promoters on from the 2 main promotions here in Utah. They've come on. They put on good shows out here. And we went out there, we did not knowing what to expect. You guys put on a great show. So I'd love to talk to you a lot about that, what you got going on in the MMA scene there. But obviously, with everything that's going on with COVID-19, and you guys are in New York, you get an interesting perspective that we don't get out here with it. I think our death count from it is like in the low mid 30s. So,
I think we're at like 30 something as of yesterday.
It's like I'm sitting
nothing here.
Figure out why we're shut down.
I'm trying to figure that out too. I want to give this disclaimer. I have a lot of friends that are first responders, whether they're EMTs, police officers, firefighters, and I never want to discredit the job that they do and devalue the sacrifice that they're making.
Of course not.
And I would never do that. But I run a business. I'm 28 years old. I'm not, I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything, but I like to think that being so young and being able to run a successful business, how we are and we're doing, I have some level of intelligence, and it just doesn't seem practical in my perspective for a state like yourself, Utah, that has 30 cases or 40 cases to crash their economy versus, when you see what Sweden's doing, it's kind of like, if you feel like you are susceptible to getting sick and you are in danger, stay in your house and let the government help if you need it. And I get it, it's like a state of panic, and the government in New York kind of just shut everything down, and I guess it was to contain the spread, but the more I look into it, the more the more that I just start seeing a lot of fallacies and just false reports and exaggerations and abuse of the scenario. People are dying. People are losing their lives. Families are getting broken. This is a real thing that's happening in New York. And the hospitals are seeing a large influx of people that are sick. However, I'm also seeing people taking advantage of the situation. You know, I read an article the other day that 12 Democratic governors are petitioning to pass the most comprehensive federal gun ban, or gun law, not gun ban. And I can't help but to think, what does that have to do with COVID-19? You know, nothing. And, you know, and just many other scenarios like that, you know what I mean? Where I'm hearing a lot of situations from, you know, even my first responder friends or people in the medical industry that they're getting letters and notices and verbal commands from the heads of the hospitals telling them, if somebody comes in here and passes away, classify them COVID-19. So you can pass away from an ingrown toenail, you're a COVID-19 death. And you know, science is science. 2 + 2 is 4. How do you get accurate data from that? You know what I mean?
Sounds like 2 + 2 = fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. So like, this has turned me, I mean, I've never been into like conspiracy. I wouldn't consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I like to go down the rabbit hole on YouTube on some things here and there, but you know, but if anything, it's just solidified. It's just like, you just can't trust information anymore. Like you said, they're abusing the situation, and they're doing things that are, and they get caught time and time again being dishonest.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey Chris, so if I'm building a relationship with you and you catch me lie 3 out of 4 times, it makes you question everything I do from there on out, right?
Yeah. And everything you say.
So why don't we do the same thing with the media? When we catch them in lies, but then we turn around and believe their very next report.
Well, I mean, I believe that it's a situation where it's like you almost have to go to these big outlets that have control over the information if you want information. Yeah. So it's like they put the information out there, and then it's kind of your job to like sift through it. And I think that's both, you know, it's not right. You know, media should have a legal obligation to tell the truth. And, you know, and there's no civil acts, you know, there's no lawsuits when they're found out that they did not tell the truth or they were dishonest. And I think that's the problem. But one good thing that could come out of this scenario, I believe, is that people could wake up. It's not about being a conspiracy theorist, because neither am I. I want to trust my government as an American. I wear an American hat every day. You know what I mean? I want to trust my government. I love this country. I love what it stands for. I can't stand people that talk bad about this country. My opinion is, if you don't like this country, you can move. Try Syria, Lebanon.
Yeah.
You know, try those countries out. See how they work out for you. But I can't ignore if I feel like the government is lying to me. You know, I'm also not a fool. So, you know, in a lot of parts, I want to believe, and I want to believe in what we stand for in America. But I think that someone's pulling the strings up there that is not very American, and that's the problem.
I feel you, man. What do you? So are you staying in contact with your fighters and stuff? Because you know you've had to cancel a show, one show or two.
Two. So right before our April show, I was working on, I'm a workaholic, dude. I had 2 MMA cards matched up. Our first ever exclusively pro kickboxing card matched up. And then I was working on another TV show that, you know, it's separate from MMA. It surrounds the sport of airsoft. I don't know if you know what that is, but yeah, so, you know, I'm a big avid airsoft player myself, and I was working on a TV show, and I still am working on that show, but yeah, so I've actually had to cancel 3 cards and postpone another one. So, you know, I'm on like 4 right now because of this. And, you know, I've been in contact with all of my fighters. I have a very, very organic relationship with all of my fighters because I truly care about them. And I think that that's been the catalyst of our growth is, you know, we're kind of known as the promotion that gives a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it showed. Like I said, your guys is. I mean, I mean, our experience coming out there, you guys didn't go cheap on anything. Like there wasn't anything where you're like, I kind of wish they do this different or that or whatever. You guys ran it awesome. The commission was a lot different than we're used to, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They watch us like hawks here in Utah when we're in the back, and it was like we felt like it was a little bit of the Wild West out there in New York. It was a new experience for us.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the sanctioning body. I mean, I from my perspective, I think they do a great job. But
Yeah.
the sanctioning body is definitely a separate entity from us.
Oh yeah, it's different than you guys.
But I appreciate you recognizing that we don't cheap out, man. We were making a living. Don't get me wrong. We could have been making a lot more money if we were cutting corners, but we as a brand don't believe in that. I believe that even though they're amateur fighters at this level, they break bones, they bleed. Why not give them the utmost respect, and why not give them the best product to build their names as we possibly can? And I think that was our skeleton key to kind of taking over in New York. I mean, it really, before this Corona thing, no one really wanted to fight anywhere else. I mean, you had one other show, but it was just apples and oranges.
Yeah. So are you the main show there in New York that does amateur fights?
I would say, yeah, we're certainly the premier amateur promotion, and really, where we were heading, and we will continue to head towards being the premier promotion in New York very, very soon. We had a lot of things in the works that I can't really speak about because we don't have the paperwork in line, but we had a lot of big things in the works that are kind of on pause as far as the transition going pro and doing that. And I believe that we'll do the same thing to the pro promotions that we did to the amateur promotions, which was either force them to kind of up what they provide the fighters, or they will disappear because no fighters will want to fight for them. For a long time in New York, it was a money grab. The fight scene was, the promoters were getting rich. The fighters were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel and hoping for someone to drop a line in to Bellator, to UFC. And if you look at the last Bellator card that came to Long Island, it was the prelims were a Triton Fights card. I mean, they picked up all of our former champions right out of the Amies. There wasn't even a regional step, like where they fought for a regional show and then went to Bellator. They picked up a lot of our champions right out of the Amies. So I mean, I hope that is indicative of what we are trying to do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it was freaking hot. Jason, did you get a chance to watch that Triton card that Tanner was on?
Yeah, I did. I ended up getting the pay-per-view, and I thought it was amazing. I thought it was well run. I thought it was great.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just, as far as like, the digital content, my partner Nick Canobio has almost 30 years in television, and I think that is kind of our little edge. We kind of have some know-how that it would take a long time for someone to kind of acquire.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my end, it seemed smooth. Everything ran fine. I was able to stream the whole card. It was amazing.
Awesome.
So your plan going forward, whenever are you trying to keep those fights for those cards that you had? Are you trying to keep those fights intact and just postponing them to a later day, or when they open it up, are you going to rematch make everything and try and reset everything?
Well, I mean, I had coming up one of the most epic amateur MMA cards that I've ever matched up. I mean, I was really, really excited about it. There, guys were, especially in my like bantamweight division, and like the lightweight division, guys were kind of fighting up this ladder, and as they were fighting these other opponents, kind of calling people out, and and they were kind of fighting on parallel trajectories. And kind of this card was going to bring it all together and kind of get the guys that really thought certain guys didn't deserve the accolades that we were giving them and the press that we were giving them. So it was really coming to a head where those guys were going to meet each other in the cage, and I was really excited about it. So I'm definitely going to try to keep it intact. Also I had a lot of debut guys that were in high demand. These were guys that were, been training for 8 years and were ready to take a fight. A lot of times gyms have guys like that. I was one of those guys where I was training for many, many years and I never took a fight. And then, so I'm trying to keep those cards intact as much as possible.
Man, the level of fights that you put on. So when we were out there, I think there was 19 fights on that card.
Yeah.
A mixture of MMA and kickboxing.
Yeah.
The craziest thing to me was I think all 19 made it to fight night.
Yeah.
You didn't have anybody drop out.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I had at one point, my partner was about to kill me. I had 25 fights booked. And we actually ended up with 19, but I had 25 booked. And it's only because, again, people just really don't want to fight anywhere else. We really do try to give them that professional feel. Even if you look at our walkouts, our walkouts cost us money. You know what I mean? They're not like these, like, you're not just walking through like one fog machine or something like that. So, people like the content that we provide.
Oh, for sure. The one thing that I noticed, I thought the skill level was exceptional. Because we were in the back kind of watching. We were in one of those back rooms and we were watching on the TV.
Yeah.
And the skill level, the one stuck out to me was that you had a girl kickboxing fight towards the end of the night. Was that little girl, that Yasmanian devil girl? Yeah.
She
was a savage, bro.
She was also fighting 11 pounds over her weight.
Really?
Oh, wow.
She was a lot smaller than that girl that she was fighting.
Yeah. She was also, that was her first pro fight.
Really?
And her opponent had about 11. It was very difficult to get that approved by the sanctioning body. That girl's just a gangster. Her coach Rami is a world-class Muay Thai striker, and he really wanted that fight for her because he knew stylistically it would be a problem. I think they really had Christy Andoli's calling card.
She ate her legs up, bro.
Yeah,
ate her legs up. You could see it when by the time the fight was over, her leg was already black and purple.
Yeah, it was. I think they had her stylistically. I think styles make fights. I think they had her calling card. And I kind of knew that going into that fight and matching that fight, but I figured I'm big on making even fights at this level. So I figured her experience level, meaning her opponent's experience level, would kind of even out the playing field. And I think it made for a really entertaining fight.
It was a great fight.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I was really impressed with. It seemed like all the fights that I saw there, they were even. You sometimes you never know when you go to those amateur ones, you kind of see the
shady matchmaking.
Yeah, matchmaking, right?
Yeah.
And you guys, I thought, did a great job. You guys can only line them up. If somebody comes in underprepared or unprepared or whatever, it could look bad, but that's on the fighter. That's not on the matchmaker, right? And
what I do, my process is, even like when I was looking at, for instance, like Tanner, he's a great example of what we're willing to do to bring the best of the best together under one roof. So when I actually found Tanner off of, I put a post out. I wanted the top 185 pounder. I said I didn't care what state it was, and someone tagged him. So then I kind of researched him, and I saw what he looked like. I saw his personality. I thought it was a great personality because I think on the outside he looked like a rough and tough guy, but he was a very nice, soft-spoken guy. And
that's him.
And I think his opponent was the same way. Pariah's, coming from Ireland, he had that kind of Ireland swag about him, but I thought they were both almost carbon copies of each other in certain ways. And then body mass and body type was very different. Tanner was very more stocky and kind of compact. He looked like he hit really hard. And, Pariah is kind of, lanky and long. And I thought that was going to be a great match. And again, we didn't make a ton of money on that fight. We probably lost money on that fight. With bringing you guys in the hotels and making sure you guys are comfortable and bringing Pariahs in and hotels but honestly, it was worth it to me because we want to bring the best talent together, no matter if it, obviously we can't lose thousands of dollars, but if it's something where we could break even, but it's going to be a great fight, I'm going to put it on.
That's awesome. That's such a great, awesome mindset to have, and that's what's going to set you guys apart. I mean, we all came back. We all came back and told our coaches and our team, I'm like, bro, we need to get a squad together and go out there and get 3 or 4 of us on one of your fight nights. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. You guys always have a home over here.
I told you in the cage after the fight. I said I fight Price for that. I messaged him, but I guess he's thinking he's going pro. And respect to him, he's obviously a good fighter, and he's ready for that step. But you guys put on such a good show. We definitely want to all come back out, and hopefully.
Yeah, I'd love to have it, and even look, like I said, we are in the talks. I can't go into details, but pro Triton fights will be a thing very, very soon. As soon as the lights turn back on, all the pieces are together. We don't really do anything half-cocked. We're very meticulous on how we go about things. We could have already done a pro show a long time ago, but we wanted to do it right. We wanted to make sure that we could pay the fighters, a good amount of money. Obviously we're not UFC. No one's getting $50,000 a fight, but we wanted to make sure that we can secure financial backing and a lot of logistics. But when we do it, we're going to do it in a way where we make a splash. Ariel Helwani has tweeted us many, many times. Andre Harris, PFL fighter, was on live and mentioned Triton fights and the great job that we do in New York on the Ariel Helwani show. So we have, Bleacher Report Live. We broke the career of John Gotti's grandson, which is now a 6-0 pro MMA fighter.
That's right.
Yeah. He was our welterweight champion. So, we've been on Bleacher Report. I mean, when you fight on our platform, you expect to be in front of, 1.5 million eyes a year, collectively.
It's freaking awesome. Maybe it'll be a good home for Damage Plan. What do you think, Jason?
I think it'd be great.
Get some damage.
I'd love to have you guys do a show live or something.
So give us some guys that have come through there that are fighting somewhere else bigger now. Do you have any of those guys?
You have Wilson he has a really hard last name, Androgyny. I hope I didn't butcher his name. I'm pretty sure I did. He's fought all the way in Florida. He's fought for Ring of Combat, which is kind of the premier pro promotion, on the East Coast right now. A lot of our guys fight for Ring of Combat, where Dennis Bazooka, Ring of Combat. Ryan Castro, that you just fought, that you just saw fight in our last show in pro kickboxing, has fought for Bellator. Eric Bloodaxe Olsen, Bellator. Rebecca, I forget what her last name is. Rebecca Carnage Rampage is her pro fight name. She's fought for Bellator. Lindsay Van Zant, Bellator Invicta. Jennifer Dugwin, Bellator Invicta. I can keep on rattling them off. Jeremy Puglia, Bellator. He's fought for Ring of Combat as well. Rick Schaefer, 7-0 pro kickboxer, has fought through us. So we've really gotten, if you're in the East Coast and you're on a regional level, we've gotten you in some capacity.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you move on from that. So how busy you are? You're a workaholic. We're all workaholics. Jason's a business owner. I'm a business owner. You doing your thing.
Absolutely.
What UFC Bellator stuff? You have time to watch all that stuff too?
Honestly, I get some flack about this a lot, but when I work, I try not to focus in or zero in on my competitors, because I always want to come from a perspective of like fresh eyes, and I don't want to be jaded by what someone else is doing. And I hope you see that in some of the marketing that we do. I mean, we do some pretty creative marketing where, these guys are even acting in our promos and stuff. And so I do I do watch UFC, but am I an avid Bellator UFC follower? I used to be, but not so much anymore, because I never want to be the Triton Fights that's trying to be UFC. I don't want to try to be Bellator. I want to be Triton Fights, and I think that's important to stay grounded in that way.
That's a really cool, interesting perspective. So with things being down a little bit, are you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just fans of fighting, though, too, right?
Absolutely.
And right now, kind of depending on how you look at it, UFC is the flagship of MMA in the world. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Most fighters, that's their goal.
That's their goal.
It's levels right now, right? You guys are an amateur promotion looking to go pro, but I mean,
Yeah.
you guys looks like you're well on your way to becoming one of the flagship promotions here in this country, and hopefully a worldwide recognized promotion here soon. But you can still watch the fights, right, and enjoy them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely, I don't ever want to be dishonest. So, if you're asking me if I have stats to rattle off in my brain and matchups that, Tony Ferguson, Khabib, I'm interested in that fight. It probably never happened. Like, I'm hip to what's going on. But if you're asking me if I'm diehard as far as statistics and everything like that, I try to make the effort kind of not to be because, again, I don't want to be jaded, but I definitely am a fight fan to the core. A lot of times I'll catch some of the more regional promotions. Honestly, I watch more, whether it's like Hard Knocks Fighting, Titan FC, PFL. I'll watch those promotions a little bit more because, those are things that I can kind of zero in and say, all right, they're doing it this way, but I can do that better in a way, or I can do that differently in a way. UFC, it's you can never compete with that type of budget. And then sometimes trying to emulate that type of budget just comes off low budget. So, but I definitely am a fight fan to the core. I'm a combatives fan, whether it's firearms, MMA, boxing, wrestling. I like knowing that I'm a complete fighter. And that's, it extends far past martial arts too.
With the do you watch the WWE stuff?
It's kind of like the UFC where I watch the WWE sometimes to get ideas about marketing because I think that they are a great marketing engine and they are very, very good at making these personas and having people buy into them. And that's a factor that we've adopted into how we market our fighters because it's hard, an amateur fighter, people don't know who you are a lot of the times. So sometimes, I got a kid that comes to the weigh-ins in a black mink coat. And he throws money at people. And
that's awesome.
People hate him, but he sells the most tickets out of anybody in my show. Other than our welterweight champion Ryan Jarina, he definitely has the most tickets. I mean, I think the top tickets he sold in one show is, close to 150, 200 tickets himself. We try to take people's personalities and accentuate them and let them be themselves.
So when you were a diehard MMA fan before you got into this, who is your guy? Who are your favorite fighters that you just loved?
I think Forrest Griffin was definitely. I remember watching that fight when I was a child with my dad, and that's one of like the few, I guess, nice childhood memories I got, and came up kind of rough, and watching that fight definitely like gave me the bug for MMA, and I was like, this is going to be my life. If you would have asked me at that point, I was going to be a pro fighter, but snapping my knee in half kind of put a damper on that, but I'm in a different lane now.
So are you retired as a fighter then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever compete. I definitely still spar. Yeah, I definitely still spar. I definitely am on the mats. I'm definitely getting choked out and choking people out. My skills are definitely, still there. I just don't think I'll compete. I think that time has passed, and I don't want to lie to myself and put myself in a situation where I'm hurting myself and I'm not making it a career. If I do something, I do it 100%. And, and I think it's disrespectful to the guys like Tanner, like yourself, that have the time and are dedicating and sacrificing the time. I'd rather you guys get that spot and me kind of stay in my lane. But, if guys need work, I'm 100%, I'm by no means a fight promoter that hides behind a computer. I'll get in the ring. I'll put the gloves on. I'll bleed. I'll make people bleed.
Nice.
I've seen your videos. You got hands.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that, man.
You got it. I don't know. It's hard. I see, and I have a lot of respect. That's awesome perspective that you have on it. Because man, that I know that's going to be my hardest thing is me and Jason are in this. We're trying to get more into, we're looking at growing this Damage Plan brand into even managing some fighters and helping them and marketing and all that type of stuff. And we want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But man, there's nothing like fighting.
There's nothing like fighting.
That bug, I did my first fight as a bucket list thing. So I don't know if everybody that's listening has probably heard this. It's new. I was 270 pounds 3 years ago.
Wow.
And I started training, and now, now I'm fighting at 185 and probably making the move down to 170 at some point.
Yeah. We'll get you there.
Yeah.
You're going to get there.
Jason's my nutrition guy. He's going to get me there at 170.
Solid.
But and I did the first fight, and it was like, man, that was fun. But I didn't know if I was going to do it again. I ate a head kick like 15 seconds into the fight. It flash knocked me out, and I pulled out. I ended up taking the dude's back and choking him out and got the win. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do that again. And then you just get this itch, and it's like you can't scratch it. And then it's like all of a sudden I just fought 3 times in 11 months and won a belt, and then I lost. And that was supposed to be my last fight for the year. Me and my wife are expecting another baby.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. And that was supposed to be it. But then the way I lost, it was like, I got to get that one back. Like, I just think it's this scratch that's always going to be there. I don't know how you can say
it's, it's something, dude, I go through the same, sometimes it keeps me up at night because it's also a pride thing. Like, us MMA guys, we're alpha males, you know what I mean? And if I see a guy, and I would never drop a name, but if I see a guy in a cage and I'm like, damn, I know he would not last a round with me in there, but he's in there winning fights. I'm like, damn, man, I could do this. But again, that just brings me back to the respect level. And martial arts has humbled me in so many ways. When I first got into martial arts, I walked into a MMA gym. I was a street kid, you know what I mean? And for lack of better terminology, hanging around all the wrong people, doing all the wrong things. And I thought I was the toughest thing coming out the cookie jar. And I got smoked by a 16-year-old, a scrawny 16-year-old. And I probably had like 80 pounds on him. I mean, this kid, like a little Asian 16-year-old kid, smoked me. And it humbled the shit out of me, So, kind of going on that martial artist kind of mind frame, I don't let my pride get ahead of me too much. I understand why I'm here, and I'm here to find the Michael Jordan of MMA, and to cultivate that, and I'm fine with that. I think God put me here for that.
That's awesome, man.
Hell yeah, man. I'll leave the fighting to you guys. I'll stick to bodybuilding.
That's it, man.
Jason's a bodybuilder, nutrition guy and stuff. But he's big in the MMA scene.
I love it. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Start helping a lot of fighters out there. Do you connect any of your fighters with guys like Jason? If you see him go through a bad weight cut or not be able to make weight or whatever, do you ever just, hey, I got a guy that he can help you with your weight cut next time or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely need to, vet the process and make sure that I'm pointing my guys into the right hands, and that's no offense to anybody. I would do that no matter what it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Whether it's nutrition, a lot of times, another thing that I do, and I really don't like telling people that I do this because it's like, giving a homeless man a cheeseburger, but videotaping it. I don't like that, but for the conversation's sake, if I come across a sponsor that maybe doesn't have the budget to sponsor our show, but maybe they have a smaller budget, I'll throw it to a fighter, where the $200 to $300 that sponsor, gives that fighter could, pay his gym membership for 3 months, versus us where it's like, it doesn't financially really make sense.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. Do you, so when do you plan with how things are going? I know it's up in the air. What's your best case scenario? What's your worst case scenario when you think Triton Fights is going to be back on live?
I think best case scenario, we could do a show in July. I think worst case scenario is like 2021.
No.
And I'm really hoping that, because I don't have a 9 to 5. This is what I do. This is how I pay my bills, feed my family. So it's definitely been difficult for me, and I'm not hiding, from that fact. But we also are not victims here. So we're working on different options, whether it is to do an audience list show and do a pay-per-view. And, thank God we have great streaming partners and the ability and the know-how to do it properly, where, someone would pay $10 maybe to watch a fight, and not feel like, what the hell did I just buy? So
that all day long.
We're working on options to be able to keep the New York fighters active, and we want to support our fighters in our gyms, and also any merchandise this month that is purchased, any Triton Fights merchandise that is purchased, all the proceeds, 100% will be going towards gyms in need in New York, because obviously they can't train. So, a lot of people are canceling their memberships and stuff. So all of the proceeds of our merchandise will be going towards gyms that were affected by COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the biggest bummers for me. That's hardest, right? Most MMA fighters, if they're trying to make this their life, their income is based off fighting, which makes their coaches and their gym, their incomes, how they feed their fighting is their fighters fighting.
Yeah.
It's the trickle effect. It's just murdering. I'm really nervous that there's some gyms that won't be able to come through on the other side if this lasts, months longer.
And what it's going to do is it's going to, let's hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, for, just some knowledge, what it's going to do is it's going to make it a very, very difficult task to matchmake from that point. And what you're going to see is a lot of shows not being able to put on shows because in New York, for instance, and I don't know if it's the same where you guys are at, but, the Renzo Gracie lineage is very prominent in New York. Renzo Gracie lineage, you could have a gym called, anything MMA, and if they're under that lineage, they will not fight another Renzo Gracie school.
Right.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the bigger schools probably will survive, but a lot of the times those bigger schools won't fight each other. So it's going to, from a business perspective, it's going to make it very, very difficult for a show to do a successful show, because the options will be off the table. Hopefully that's not the case, though.
Do you guys have a lot of independent fighters come to you and ask for a fight? Dudes that are just
I wouldn't call it a lot. And what if a guy comes to me and is like, yeah, I want to fight, and I see that they're not like assigned to a gym or they don't have a coach, I try to meet up with them. I'll try to spar with them or just try to just see where they're at, because I don't want to put a kid in there and them get hurt because of me. And potentially maybe that kid is really good if he trained and got the proper training, but, he gets hurt in his first fight, never fights again, and we never see the Michael Jordan of MMA because of me. So I do have independent fighters. I try to direct them towards gyms and coaches, especially if I see that they're serious. But I do have some independent fighters, and I try to match them according to skill levels.
We have a kid out here. I don't know if you've seen it. We've been posting this stuff. If you'll go jump into the group, that Damage Plan group, you'll see and follow this podcast. We had a kid on last month. His name's Kieran Merton. He was 0-5, and I think he'd only made it out of the first round once.
0-6.
Wow.
0-6.
No, but he was 0-5.
Yeah.
Joined a gym, joined a gym, and he's turned around like 180, and he just had his first kickboxing match, and he destroyed the guy.
Yeah. And that's what happens, man. Like, you have to be responsible at this level with your matchmaking. And that's a message to any show across the United States at this level, especially the amateurs. Be responsible, because you could really end somebody's career prematurely. That could be a great, great fighter, and it'll be a disservice to everybody. You know what I mean? So
anybody before we let you go, we'll wrap it up here soon. Any names that you got that you say watch out for? They're going to be on the big show here soon.
I think definitely Ryan Jarina, our welterweight champion. He's in Thailand right now training. I think that kid will be, as long as he has no injuries, I think he will be top 10, no problem in the world at some point in his career. Manny Vera, again, as long as he does not get injured, I definitely think I would put some money on him. I mean, there's so many, man. There's really is so many. Damian Nelson, you know, he's like 5-0 right now. You know, there's so many. If you guys, you know, if your viewers want to see our past fights, we're on Pluto TV. It's a free app. It's owned by Viacom. It's like cable television for your cell phone. It's a great app. You can tune in to Pluto TV, the fight channel. We're on that. And then also we have an on-demand section that you can see some of our past fights. And then live, we're on Bleacher Report Live. So if, you know, if any of your viewers want to tune in and see what Triton Fights is all about, you know, we have those avenues.
It's awesome. Hell yeah.
Got any other sponsors you want to plug or shout out on this?
Yeah, definitely. So first and foremost, we are an American-based brand. We support our country 100%, and our country supports us. Our main sponsor is actually the U.S. Army, and we want to thank, you know, the military for all their sacrifices and what they do. Then you have Synergy Pro Wellness. He is a magician, he's a former WWE wrestler, and Don Moore, and he is a true magician at what he does. He really does heal people. You got Ally Live Holistic Empowerment. You have Salt and Sweat Wellness, which is where we did our weigh-ins. It's also a great facility, you know, for all your wellness needs, really. Yeah, so thank you guys for having me, man. I really appreciate your time, man, and 100% you always have a home at Triton.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I already gave you one name. There's a guy out here. He's the current heavyweight champ here in Utah. His name's Zach Cavender. We just recorded a podcast with him. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
It was last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
Nice.
And he's having a hard time finding fights out here. So when we go live, I'm telling you, he might be the next big thing out of Utah. And we've had some.
Okay.
You know, we've had Court McGee out of Utah. You know, Ultimate Fighter winner. Josh Workman. Jeremy Horn has his gym here still. He's the OG of Utah. We had some come out of Utah. I'm telling you, Zach Cavender is already a pro heavyweight champ. And so
so let's as soon as the light turns back on, let's talk about getting you know, him and maybe your team, get a group of, you know, do a Utah invades New York kind of deal.
Yeah,
man.
I like it.
Cool.
Let's do it.
So everybody
Do it,
go like Triton Fights on Facebook. Go watch the old fights on Pluto TV. They put on a great show. Go and support them. And Chris, thanks for coming on. We appreciate
Thanks, man. I appreciate you both.
Appreciate a lot. Brother. Thanks, Chris, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah.